Welcome to Real Men Eat Plants, the podcast that challenges the stereotype that a plant-based diet is only for Eve's offspring and green smoothie anarchists. We're here to show you that real men can thrive on a plant-based diet, and that it's not only good for your health, but also for the planet, animals, and most importantly, your libido. Okay, maybe your libido shouldn't be more important than the planet, but we're just being realistic here. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of plant-based living, sharing inspiring stories, exciting plant-based news, and highlighting the achievements of individuals who have embraced this empowering way of life. So grab that green smoothie and settle into your favorite spot, and let's embark on an exciting journey together. Real Men Eat Plants is your hub for inspiration, information, and connection within the vibrant world of plant-based living. And now, here's the host of Real Men Eat Plants, Shane Martin.
Well, Ella, how are you doing?
Hey,
like we haven't had this
Shane.
conversation before. So.
Yeah, doing fantastic. It was so great to see you, to meet you in Omaha.
Yeah, I had a blast. That was I got to tell you, that was one of the best conferences I've ever been to as an attendee or a participant. I mean, like Melissa and them I've never felt more taken care of. Like they made you feel like you mattered, like they were truly honored that you were there. You know, it was very humbling. I'm assuming that may have been your take as well. I mean,
1,000%. Everything about it. Well, it kind of screamed like Midwest kind of values, right? That's how it felt. And then just in terms of how well the show was actually run, you know. So yeah, the whole package was fantastic. And you and Melissa up on stage together, that dynamic was so great. I don't know, you guys have never done that before, have you?
No, you know what's funny is everybody was asking us if we had planned that,
Yeah.
and it was funny because I had no clue what we were doing when we got there. I knew it was going to be a cooking demo. And when she and I had talked about it, I knew that we were going to do this where she had a couple of potato things and things she wanted to suggest, but all the recipes that she was demoing were mine. So I thought I was going to just be doing this cooking demo and walking on stage. And she said, I'll assist you, but it was clear when we got up there, she's very this organized. I called her laser beam because she was so focused,
Yeah.
and, but she reminds me of my wife because my wife is like that. But it's like when we got up there and I realized, I was like, oh no, she's like, oh, this is going to be, serious and her teaching moment. And I'm going, okay, well, I guess I would do what I would do if my wife was up there. And so it's like, and my attention span is, oh, shiny thing, I got to go, so it was, but yeah, it wasn't planned. And I went up to her afterwards because I felt like, oh no, I just have totally busted her vibe. But anyway, so it was like, but she came home and she was like, when she had a moment to, I think, kind of collect herself, it was like, but it was fun. I mean, I loved it. And I loved Dr. Mills being a good sport and getting involved. And I think that was like when she saw he was going to get involved, it was like, because she told me, I didn't realize when we got all the recipes done, her goal was to take them and lay them out and create this pretty little picture. And she said, but when I saw you licking the bowls and licking the containers, I was like,
All that out the window.
yes.
Yeah. Well,
But
it
anyway,
worked.
well, it worked. And thank you
It
for your
worked.
words. But we are not
Yeah.
here for me. We are here for
Yeah.
you. So, but you and I had never got to meet until Omaha. And so it was really cool, like seeing these people that you follow and that you know about, and then all of a sudden you get to hang with them, and so, and then having dinner that night and just, kind of getting to know people like just as who they are, not as you see them, and it was, and for me, it was really cool meeting you and it's like, oh, it's this person I've been reading about, it's like, but just it's almost like peeling the onion back a layer. So, I get to see the layers, and just see even more of who you were. So that was really cool. But your story was just absolutely fascinating. It was just I'm just gonna say this. You are a freaking machine. And I mean that with the utmost sincerity, and it's a huge compliment. It just, reading about your story and what you're doing, and then realizing we had the North Carolina connection,
Mhm.
that was really good. But I'd really love for you to just kind of introduce yourself for people that may not know who you are or know what you're doing, or people that know you and hear more of what you're doing. But just kind of share a bit of your story and introduce yourself real quick. And, because this is the Real Men Eat Plants podcast, but I feel like we need a strong woman to come in and kind of kick some tail and get the balls rolling here. No pun intended, but
Mhm.
kind of go ahead and just introduce yourself.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. No, and I take that machine thing that as a total compliment. So thank you.
You're welcome.
It's kind of just been me for my whole life, really getting into sports at the age of 5 years old, gymnastics and swimming mainly at the beginning. And it was when I was 7 years old that I connected the food on my plate with the animal it was. And just real quick, that story's kind of fun. So yeah, I'm in first grade and my mom picked me up from school, asked me how my day was, and I told her that we learned about a guy named Daniel Boone. And for anyone who doesn't know Daniel Boone, he's one of our first American folk heroes, and he wore this raccoon hat and he carried around a shotgun. He was a wilderness guy. And I said, Mom, this guy was supposed to be a hero, but he wasn't. He was so mean. He killed and he ate animals. And my mom kind of looked back at me and she said, Well, Ella, and she was honest. She said, Well, we don't have to do that ourselves anymore. We're very fortunate. We get to buy our meat at the grocery store.
Wow.
And it was that moment. Yeah, it was like this light bulb moment where I connected that chicken was actually a chicken, and we see them in the books, in our books, and these happy chickens. And we as young children like really love animals, right? We have them in our storybooks and we feel connected to them. And when I realized that I was eating a dead one of those, I said, oh my God, I am never doing that again. And that was literally it for me in terms of eating meat.
Wow.
So yeah, and I was out pull-upping by 10th grade. It's field day in elementary school, and we had to do pull-ups for the boys and chin-ups for the girls. And I would watch the boys go up and maybe get one pull-up, maybe two, and the girls would go up and chin up, hold on for dear life. And then I'd go up and I'd be like whipping out pull-ups. And that was 10, 11, 12 pull-ups, and that was 3 years after I'd already cut out meat from my diet. So
Wow.
that's the very beginning of my journey, if that's where you were going.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that even that early on, that it's I don't know. Do you know Gigi Carter? Her and Cersei. That
Yes, I do.
okay.
I do.
Okay. So Gigi is one of my closest friends, and I've gotten to know
Mhm.
Cersei through Gigi.
Yeah.
And your story and hers is very similar in how you fell into a plant-based diet, which she ended up going more from the compassionate standpoint of animal welfare, and mine was purely on the other side of that for
Hmm.
health.
Hmm.
But my whole point is that she kind of fell backwards into health
Hmm.
because of going from that compassionate standpoint. But what I'm really astounded, or what really is super exciting about hearing and really interesting, is at such a young age, when you just kind of when you're hearing the story of Daniel Boone, and you're talking about looking at your plate. And we grew up, you know and just for the sake of transparency, like, from the time we could walk, we hunted and learned to slaughter pigs for bacon. And now it wasn't an everyday thing, it was like a once a year thing, because that we lived very in a very rural place. But still, it didn't hit me until later on in life, kind of, wow, even before I went vegan, that was a pretty traumatic thing, and I couldn't
Hmm.
do it anymore. And but my so when you started noticing these changes even at an early age, and you're doing the pull-ups and everything, were you following a a whole diet, or were you just like, I'm just not going to eat any animal products? And,
Yeah.
so, or
Yeah.
when did this whole idea of, wow, this is really changing my body and I'm this fitness machine now?
Yeah. Well, great questions. And I have to, argue, but I would have to say I think that it's actually a lot easier and more common for young children to make that connection, right? Than
Oh
people
yeah.
later on, because this is about programming. This is about this program we receive from the time we're born to, like, if anybody knows about Dr. Melanie Joy,
Mhm.
psychologist, who talks
Yes.
about eating animals being, we're raised to believe that eating animals is normal, natural, and necessary, right? And we believe all those things, and it's a lot of power of marketing. I mean, the dairy industry has some of the most powerful marketers. That Got Milk campaign. I mean, and
Oh,
and
it's
for my,
huge.
right, like, and my mom had a rule. I had to finish my milk every night,
Yeah.
after dinner, and I hated milk. It was like torture, but she made that rule out of pure love, because she truly believed that if I didn't drink my milk, I'd have brittle bones, and osteoporosis ran in our family, and it would be her fault. So I don't, hold that against her at all. And it was my own research after that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's another lifetime where I was a slaughtered animal, or what it was, that connection was really strong. My connection to the suffering of animals, of
Mhm.
saying this is not okay, and I'm not gonna partake in that, and I'm now going to, at 10 years old, let everyone else know that, wow, like, we don't need to eat animals. Like, look how healthy I am, and look how strong I am. So I was doing my own research. By the time I was 15, I was fully vegan. And there I was, thriving without meat in my diet, ready to take that next step, because I understood the different industries. And I'm a thriving athlete. And so, if all those pictures of happy cows on the farm, if they were lies from the dairy industry, I knew that the health information was probably a lie too. So that kind of got me
Mhm.
started into, let me get really curious about the health information, and about what it, challenging all those programs that society, that parents, that people are so intertwined with.
Yeah, it's interesting. Two things you bring up that I think is really interesting. You bring up the osteoporosis kind of thing that runs rampant, with
Yeah.
people. And we were told the same thing. Oh, that's you got to get your calcium from milk. But, like my wife's family, her grandmother, she's passed away, but she had a huge issue with osteoporosis and was taking calcium supplements. And I always thought it was interesting, especially after going plant based, that, people are getting osteoporosis and they go, I don't understand it. I'm eating a ton of cheese and milk. And I'm like, well, that might be why, because,
Mhm.
the thing with dairy is it's so acidic. And what does your body use to fight acid is calcium. So,
It
so
leaches out of
yeah,
your bones.
yes. And so I think that's interesting that people keep feeding the beast, so to speak. But the
Yeah.
other thing too that, you touched on when you talk about these happy cows, what I don't think people realize when you go to a dairy farm is that cows are like humans in the sense that they don't just produce milk nonstop. They only produce milk when they have something to nurse, when they have a calf to nurse. So, I mean, for lack of a better term, they're raping cows to keep them pregnant.
Correct.
And I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how compassionate they say this farm is. They get a cow pregnant, take the baby away, and then milk the mom. And that's how it's done
Over and over.
over and over and over. And the cow is worn out and kept pregnant. That's what they do. So, um, yeah. So, but it's interesting you going from the compassionate side. And, I didn't go vegan until I was 40. And I went in purely for the health aspect of
Mhm.
it. But I think what's really interesting is that when you start paying attention to where your food comes from, because I went in saying, well, I'm not vegan in the sense that, it's like people can go eat meat. That's them. They can do that. But I was really shocked and blown away when I started just doing my own research at factory farming and just how it's destroying land, it's overtaking land, but just how if no one has seen Oh, it was the one that Joaquin Phoenix did.
Earthlings.
Earthlings. That messed me up. Even these quote unquote kosher
Yeah.
slaughterhouses. It is just devastating. And um, so I guess my point is to I went backwards into the compassionate
Mhm.
aspect of it, but when you start paying attention to what you put in your body, you start reading labels, you start looking and doing your own research. So I just all that to say is sympathize with you on the on the atrocities that are out there that just and it's not one dimensional with the
No, not at all. And not at all. And I think you make a great point, and I think it is about challenging, right? Challenging what we just assume to be true. And this is a big thing. I mean, let's just take this even out of the vegan space, but just in general, people are, we're all very in tune with this need to feel free, right?
yeah,
Like freedom is a big, big word these days. And what does that look like? And I think if we start to say, the way to be free is to really challenge this programming that's causing us to be prisoners of our own subconscious, that'll allow us to be free by having the correct information, by really doing our research, by saying just because they show it in a book or just because the marketing says it on the TV, it's not true, right? It doesn't
right.
make it true. So can we challenge that? And that's a path to freedom. That's a beautiful place to be where you're actually making a conscious choice. So yes, it's hard to watch Earthlings. That's a
Yeah,
really hard one, thing to watch. And it's what's happening. So
yeah,
that freedom is you saying, here's the knowledge. I'm gonna figure out exactly what's going on. I'm gonna be conscious about how my food is getting to my plate, then what it's gonna do inside my body, right? And then being able to make a real decision, an
mhm,
actual decision. So, I just think that's an important point to make. We all want to be free, and freedom comes from being able to make conscious choices.
yeah, and I think too, and I think that's a great point because before we jumped on, we were talking a little bit about that by far and away, you've got these leaders in the plant-based movement like the Esselstyns and, both Rip and Dr. Esselstyn and T. Colin Campbell and Dr. Ornish and Neil Barnard. But by far and away, the followers and the adherents, it's predominantly women.
Mhm.
And I was kind of telling you that when I look at the analytics of my blog followers, 86 to 90% are women. And when you talk about like the issue of freedom for per se, I think there is this caricature and this stereotype. The reason and this is my own personal opinion, I don't have any science to back this up, but I think there is this because everything is so polarized right now, politically, just whatever. I think there are a lot of men that don't explore the idea of going vegan or plant based because it's like, well, that makes me one of them left wing loonies and I'm a communist and all. And look, I get it. I was there when I found out a buddy of mine lost all this weight by forks over knives. And I'm like, no, I'm not going vegan. They eat bark, don't take baths. They're super, super left wing. They're
Yeah,
out on the oceans, with Greenpeace getting shot at,
yeah,
and and so there's this caricature that's built, and it's like I'm saying bye to my freedom, but I'm like, no, you're actually enhancing your freedom, and this has nothing to do with politics.
yeah.
It's this is about lifestyle. This is about health. This is about true freedom in the sense of freeing your body to heal itself and do what it
Mhm.
intended to do. You know?
1,000%. No, that hits it right there. And I would say, if we're talking kind of gender roles, and yes, there's this machismo, I eat meat, blah blah blah, like, or we could also look at it as being the protector, right? Like, that is a very masculine role to take, is being a protector, being a caregiver, right? Like,
Yeah,
we don't champion men going out and raping women, though that might be a macho thing,
yeah.
right? And so when we're
Well,
looking
it's not.
at,
I wouldn't even say it's macho. I would say that is criminal. That is very
Well, it
criminal.
is criminal. It absolutely is criminal.
Yeah.
And we have these
Cowardly. I
pictures
would.
of like the
Yeah.
cavemen that we kind of put on a, we see the
Yes.
cavemen, like, and then we want to relate to that, and it's like we're not cave people.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but just that role of protector, of caretaker, of we can really apply that to other species as well.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, it's not a left wing thing anymore.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's and I think that's where the problems get in. I don't think these were ever left-wing issues anyway,
Right.
you know, it's
We got
like
to stop politicizing these things.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
not. It's not a political thing.
yeah, and it was it's like, so I was in ministry for 15 years, and I went vegan probably my 5th or 6th year of being in ministry, so I was in ministry another 10 years as a vegan, 8 to 10 years, and the one thing people always come back, "Well, we were told to have dominion over the earth." I'm like, "Dominion does not mean rape and pillage. Dominion means to nurture and oversee and take care of it. I mean, you wouldn't do this to your house, I mean, and so why are we doing it to creation? Why are we doing it to creatures? I mean, dominion is not about
Yeah.
raping and pillaging, I
Yeah.
mean, that's what conquerors did. And
Right.
so, okay, so let me ask you to go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, I was just gonna say, and if that doesn't resonate with somebody at the moment, like there are just too many angles, right, that we can take to help people move in that direction of plant-based, right?
Hmm.
And being healthy and strong is certainly, who doesn't want to be healthy and strong? And I think that is another stereotype, right? The hippie, stinky kind of stereotype, but also the scrawny and
Yeah.
sickly. We have
Yeah.
that's still a stereotype that's out there. And that's one of the reasons, I ended up creating my brand, Sexy Fit Vegan, was to really emphasize the fact that, man, eating plants will get you the strength that you're looking for,
Yeah.
and will keep you healthy way into long age. You'll be stronger a lot longer as
Stronger,
well.
longer. Yeah.
Stronger longer.
So let me ask you this, kind of going into that into that arena with it. Like, when
Mhm.
did you kind of wake up to the fact that you wanted to be an athlete, that you were gonna, was it just something you stumbled into? Were you always kind of athletic? I mean, I grew up playing sports. That's what you do in rural
Yeah.
Mississippi. I was a baseball, football player, excelled at both of those. But when did you kind of connect the two and you just kind of had this push to like, because people ask me all the time, when did you know you want to be a blogger? And when did you want to do this? And when do so how did you kind of stumble in when the light just went on and you're like, oh, this is what I want to do and I want to help people? Because I mean, for me, you know, getting to do things like speak at the conference in Omaha and get to do recipes and get to talk to people about this, it doesn't feel like work. I mean, it is work. You have to
Yeah.
do a lot of work to keep the lifestyle up. I mean, to pay the bills, but
Yeah.
so when did you just kind of, oh wow, this is what I want to do, and realize you could make a living doing it, and you know,
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said, I've been an athlete since I was 5. I was a competitive gymnast, competitive swimmer, competitive volleyball player in high school. After college, during college, I ended up not playing any sports in college, but really ending up hitting the gym hard and starting to lift weights. And kind of, I knew from the time I was 7 that part of my purpose on earth was to be a voice for animals, to help people make the transition to a plant-based diet for any and all of the reasons. And when I started to, after college, I jumped into the fitness industry and became a personal trainer. And my new how. So in high school, I was like, people just don't know. So let me get out there and do the protesting, do the leafleting, not as an
right?
angry, and that's another stereotype, the angry vegan, not as the angry person, but
Yeah,
just as the fact that I didn't know what was going on until somebody told me, until I found out. And then when I found out, I stopped eating meat, I stopped the behavior. So let me make sure that everybody knows. Let me make sure everyone knows. Well, I was met with so much resistance and realized that not everybody was ready to know. Not everybody wanted to know from the animal side of things. So it was like, okay, well, that's not working. So what's my new how? And my new how became being the shining example of really the physique people wanted. So that was like my after college, like, if I have this really strong, muscular, lean physique, people are coming up to me now instead of
Right.
running away from me. They're coming up to me and
Mhm.
saying, how do you do that? I want to look like you. How can I get that body? So I would then happily let them know that I was doing it, eating exclusively plants, and let me show you how to do it if you're open. So I would take on clients and do that sort of thing. And then I decided to compete as a bikini competitor in the Fame World Championships, really as a way to prove that it could be done. So luckily, I won first place in the bikini division, got second in the fitness categories. So I was, a win for plants, and that some sort of proof there that it can be done.
Sure.
Uh, and so yeah, so that was kind of my motivation. Not only that, I just really enjoy challenging myself, challenging my body, seeing where I can take it. And then to add the nutrition side of that is like, okay, well, those two things work together. We need the nutrition to fuel our bodies, to build our muscle. And so I kind of just threw all those things together. And then into 2013, it was like this tipping point of, okay, now, and I'm in Miami at that point. Um, and people were like, okay, I know the word vegan now. I was like, yeah, people know the word vegan. So now I can, now it's time to do something a little more direct. And that's when the
Right.
brand was formed.
Wow. So what do you spend? So what does the brand do? If I just come up to you and go, "Hey, I saw you. I heard you on this podcast. I saw you at this thing." It's like, I'm I'm interested. What can you do for me? Like, because you seem to like one of the things I appreciate when I went through your when I went through your website and look at what you do. And I want to say this, and I meant to say this up front. The thing that I appreciate about you, this is not just one dimensional in your life. This is something that you live out in all facets of your life. And we're going to talk a little bit about where we're doing this podcast. So, or where you are when we do the podcast. But I mean, you take this to heart physically, emotionally, spiritually, just in your lifestyle, your convictions. So this is something that, and I want to say in a good way, consumes you, obviously, and you live it out. And I think people see that because it's like, there's a lot of people that, veganism may be one, like you say, the vegans and the ones that are vegan and mad about it. Like they're going to go out and protest the climate, or they're going to go and protest zoos or something, but they're not taking care of themselves. And so, it's like for me, I don't want to go to a 425-pound doctor, you know? I don't want to sit and listen to a 500-pound preacher talk to me about self-control. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, and yes, there are people, let me be very clear, I'm not fat shaming. There are people that there is a very small percentage that have weight issues and it's hard to control. I get that. But for the most part, what we see with chronic disease, chronic Western diseases, obesity, it's lifestyle. It is always lifestyle. And so when I see, an unhealthy vegan yelling at me about factory farming or something, I'm like, bro, I tune out. Like until you take care of yourself, don't till you can make your bed at home. Don't go be trying to pick trash up in the world. That kind of thing. So that's one thing I appreciate about you, that this encompasses all you who you are. So I come to you and I go, hey, I'm struggling. I want to do something. Where do you start with people usually? Do you assess where they are, who they are? Are they, because I think it's important to know you've got a master's degree in social work, right? So
Yes,
you
I do.
obviously are concerned about the whole person. It's not just getting them fit so they can go run a marathon. So
Mhm.
kind of maybe talk to people and kind of walk me through like what you're going to do if I just come in or someone comes in and says, help me, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no. And you're right. This is about the whole person. And if we are missing pieces, and I'll tell you what, this is about relationships, honestly. This is about
Yes.
relationships. It's our relationship with ourself, with our physical body, with our mental, emotional body, with our spiritual body. All of that has to come first, really, in order to then have relationships healthy relationships with other people, with the
Right.
planet, and to be able to make a difference. I think ultimately people really do want to make a difference in the world, but we've
Sure.
got to heal ourselves. We've got to get ourselves, right, uh, if we're going to help other people. So absolutely, it's all about meeting people where they are. And like your in was the health. So yeah, what is it? What is challenging you right now? What is the struggle that you're facing in your life? Now for me, for many many years I had a very unhealthy relationship with food. That wasn't to say, I've been vegan for now 28 years. So it was never a matter of that. It was just that I was around bodybuilders, and bodybuilders were obsessed with protein and terrified of carbs, and I was trying to hit the macro count, and I was frustrated by not feeling like I was fulfilling my life's purpose. So I put so much pressure on myself to be in competition shape year round. And so there was all sorts of factors that went on in. And I later discovered that I had so much compassion for everyone else, for animals, for other people, and almost none for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so this journey has been about being curious. I think that is the main thing. We've got to get curious. So I'm curious about my own self, where I can grow on every level, and how I can help other people. And to get to that, we've got to evaluate it all. Like, so this isn't just about physical health. And there's a lot of people probably listening that know very well that there's a lot of things that they're putting in their body that are not serving them, right? That are putting them on the path to an early death, that are
Mm-hmm.
sucking their energy dry, that make them feel uncomfortable in their body with added weight. There's so many things that we're saying, but yet I'm going to go for those potato chips, even if it's not meat, even if they're already vegan, right? So, what is that? Why are we doing things that we know are not healthy for us, that are not going to help us feel good, that are not going to help us live long, healthy lives? There's something deep there, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I go with my clients, and I've got a coaching program. I've got a 22 reboot, which is, it's all has to start with the mindset. It's all got to start with what is going on that is causing me to not be able to sit with negative emotions, because we all have negative emotions. We all feel
Yeah.
sad. We all feel angry. We all have those feelings. But for most of us, when we feel those things, they're so uncomfortable. We're so not used to being able to just be with them, that we are off trying to numb ourselves, to hide, to distract ourselves. And a lot of times that means eating crap, and it means overeating, and it means, trying to fill that void, and it's not a healthy situation. So that's my starting point, is really looking at what's underneath all that. What is the reason? What is going on that you're not being loving to yourself, that you're not being compassionate to yourself?
I think that's amazing because I feel like there is this stigma for a lot of people that and I think for some people, especially with men, it's hard for men to feel vulnerable and to just be
Oh,
open. And this idea of transparency and vulnerability, it's I'm just thankful there were men in my life over the last 20 years that 25 years that came alongside me and said, "Look, the worst thing you can do when you mess up is not own it."
mhm.
Because covering it up, you have to throw another layer over it and then another layer, and then you're just buried and it's weighing on top of you. And so I'm very thankful to have men that have come along. But I love hearing you say that because I also think on the other side, I think where women struggle, what I see is this: a lot of women are so busy taking care of everyone else
Mhm.
that the first person that gets forsaken is themselves. And so
Mhm.
when you talk to them, and I know my wife struggles with this, to say, "Hey, take some time to focus on you. There's too much to do. There's this, and they've got to have this." And there's almost like I'm being selfish if I do that. And I'm like, no, you're
Mhm.
not. It's like you can't take care of others if you can't take care of yourself. You have to be your tank has to be filled. And so I
Mhm.
love hearing you say, let's start, because it's going to be different with everyone, I would imagine. You're probably going to get some people that are emotionally strong, but they just, hey, I'm a foodie. I just love to eat. And it's like,
Right.
then you got to kind of crack the whip and go, hey, put the
Yes.
freaking fork down, Homer. Let's go. And then,
Yes.
but then there's other people that come in and you can just see they've had the hell beat out of them with life. And you're like, wait a minute, we got to get you emotionally right. And you need to be loved on. And then let's go work out. So I mean, I'm assuming that may be where you go, but I love if that's where you're going. I love the whole approach.
Yeah, no, and you're right. And look, I'm someone, I have a lot of masculine energy, a lot of masculine qualities about me. When I was 22, I dove into Muay Thai, which is one of the most brutal, forms of
Oh,
kickboxing. I did not use shin guards. I did not use sparring gear. I was black and blue my entire body, and I loved it. I had this really uh tough girl kind of thing going on and I still do have that. So this has been my journey too, of learning to soften a little bit. And we all have the masculine and the feminine energy in us, right? It's just at different
sure.
balances. And obviously most men have much more of the masculine. I was pretty even. So it was this, kind of discovery that I'm still on this journey, and I will be forever, of kind of balancing that out. And what that masculine energy had me doing was, when I was struggling, and I struggled with depression, I struggled with anxiety, I just struggled with eating disorder, where I would binge at night, and I could eat an entire jar of peanut butter in one sitting, right? And these are things that I hid, that I did not let anybody know, because it was shameful, it was embarrassing, and I thought I could handle it myself.
Yeah,
That's kind of more a masculine quality. So I can relate to men, in particular, because that is so common. And I'm not saying you have to bear it to the world like I did, because I decided to write blog posts and
sure.
share my story with the world, as I kind of came into my own in terms of my spirituality, and being vulnerable and accepting myself for who I was. So we do not have to go that route, but being able to share that with somebody is important. And then you're absolutely right. Some people are not really at that place where they're ready to go there, or maybe they don't have quite so much to go there, and some people just need to be like, quit eating that crap. Right?
Yeah,
Like, so I run into those people too, and I can take that role, and it is about really discovering what that person needs, where they are right now, what their next step is. And as then they start to discover new things about themselves and open themselves up, then we can start to dig a little deeper.
All right, if you've ever wanted to show off your plant-based lifestyle and do it in style, here's your chance. We have some of the most amazing t-shirts, hats, accessories, coffee mugs, and more at shop.realmeneatplants.com. We have statement t-shirts that will bring a smile to everyone's face. I love the I Want Tofu Tonight tee. Plus, we have podcast tees, Real Women Eat Plants gear, Real Kids Eat Plants, and Real People Eat Plants, just in case men, women, and kids didn't cover it all. Yeah, we love you and love that you want to show off that healthy lifestyle of yours. Again, check out our high-quality gear at shop.realmeneatplants.com and enjoy.
yeah. So let's say we get past the emotional, and then we're going, okay,
Yeah.
so I'm assuming the next step is like, let's clean your diet up, let's get you on a nutrition plan, and then, following up, I'm assuming, with like some type of workout. And do you tailor make it? Is it tailor made for each person, or are you just saying, hey, let's do 3 sets, 5 reps each of, let's hit some incline bench and some samurai deadlifts? Or are you looking again, kind of, is that your whole approach? Is it this holistic where you take each individual and what their goal is and what they want to accomplish, and do you is are the nutrition plans and the workouts kind of tailor made? Do you really try to focus in on what's going to work best for them? Do you hear what they want to do, or do you kind of guide them along, or is it just kind of a both and?
Yeah, so for me, my group coaching is really for the people that really are ready to dive a little deeper into the why, and to get to that emotional piece. I do some of the one-on-one now. I'm no longer a personal trainer, so I don't do so much of that.
Okay.
There's so many great plant-based gyms, and people that are writing specific workout plans and all of that. That's not really my thing, although of course I
Okay.
can do that, and I do that
Sure.
with with some individual clients. But mostly it's more about building this relationship with food, your body, and yourself, so that you can make conscious and choices, that you're
Oh,
not
okay.
relying on willpower anymore. It's not about this, like, I have to find the motivation. It's really these powerful shifts that allow you to then design your life, allow you to then take a meal plan if that's what you choose, or you do it my way, which is like I have the KISS method. It's keep your staples stocked. I'm not a foodie. I'm not somebody who likes to spend hours looking at recipes, or it's more about building a meal, keeping your kitchen stocked, and having healthy go-tos that you can throw together in 10 minutes or less. That's my thing. That's my specialty. And I found that a lot of people are in that boat of, they're like, okay, I don't need to spend all this time looking up recipes or creating meal plans. I want to be able to throw together bowls and salads or burritos or whatever. And if I can just keep those staples stocked, and my method is going ahead and stocking your pantry with at least a month's supply of the things that'll last a month,
Mm-hmm.
so that then each week you can pop into the store or order your fresh produce and specialty items, so you can.
Sure.
I'm an efficient person. Like, I want things efficient,
Yeah.
and so that's where I go with it.
Okay, so that's good, because that's informative for me. So you're focusing more on the overall wellness emotionally, and getting people, kind of getting them tuned up, so that when they move over into, working out or whatever, like, they're cleaning their bodies out and cleaning their mind up. And so that's good to know, because I was sitting here going, okay, well, I got several people that book you right now to get on this workout program, and they're dudes,
Yeah.
so it's like, sorry
Yeah.
guys, nah, she ain't doing
Yeah.
that. You gotta be vulnerable first. So,
Gotta be
um,
a little vulnerable. Well, it's also about sustainability, right? What I don't want to
sure.
do, what I got tired of as a personal trainer, was helping people, whipping them into shape, and then they got to their goal, and then what happened was they would fall back into their old habits. And it's
Yeah.
how many people, 80 to 90% of people who go on a diet, do these extreme kind of diets and in workout programs, 80 to 90% of them end up right back where they were. And I saw that personally with clients, and that was so frustrating to me that that's when I went back to school and get my master's degree in social work. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to waste that time and energy with people for them to just go right back. So I wanted to get to that place where I could help people make these shifts and make them sustainable, so they would last them the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. Like, I'm glad you brought up the idea of diet, and you see that. I think that's because, and you can tell me your thoughts on it, but I feel like we're following a plant-based lifestyle. I don't even like to say diet anymore. I like to say a lifestyle, because diets are one of deprivation and denying yourself. And I feel like when people come off of a diet, and I know people that are doing keto and paleo, and they're doing, and I do think intermittent fasting is good from a, I think, I mean, from everything I've read, I think it's one of those things that should be added as a bonus. I don't feel like it should be your main, like, I'm never going to promote don't ever eat as a way of losing weight. It's like, but I do think fasting, from the standpoint of, I do think there's a lot of, and you can chime in if I'm wrong, but I feel like there's a lot of good that denying yourself for several hours, letting your body readjust and neutralize and everything like that. But I feel like people that I know are doing this intermittent fasting, but they're doing it for like 16 hours, and they're eating in a short window, and they're not really changing what they're eating. They may be eating smaller portions, or eating what they can in that window, and just not eating. And they lose weight. But I say, the minute that you stop this, it's all coming back, and probably more. And I feel like this idea of diets promote deprivation, and just denying yourself of sustenance. And I, I feel like I like to tell people that moving into a plant-based lifestyle, I felt like I was gorging myself to health, in a sense, is what I like to say. Uh, but when you talk about that, I mean, it just seems like dieting is. I'm not saying people don't need to diet, in the sense. I mean, because every case is different, but I just feel like it just can't be good to go in and out and in and out, and not eat and then eat. And I've struggled with things like that way back in the past, but I just, Yeah, I mean, I don't even really know where I'm going with that, except to say it just seems so much like deprivation is the cause because they come off these diets and then they just like they're gonna gnaw their arm off. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. And it's we keep forgetting this very important fact that our bodies really can tell us what they need. We
mhm,
have just learned our whole lives to not listen to our bodies
mhm,
and to fill them with addictive foods that are physically addictive too, so that we can't trust, right? So
mhm.
now we're relying on diets, we're relying on a meal plan, we're relying on someone else to tell us exactly how many calories and macros we're supposed to eat and blah blah blah. And yes, it's based on restriction, it's based on saying, oh, just because I'm hungry, my diet says I'm not supposed to eat, or I'm not hungry and my diet says I'm supposed to eat. It's so disrespectful to this
Yeah,
vessel, to our temples that we're living in. So, one of the things that I really work with people on is reconnecting to our bodies. Yes, ridding ourselves of those physically addictive foods so that we can then learn to trust ourselves, us trusting our bodies, our bodies trusting us. Because if we really listen, and that's the place I am now in my life where I listen to my body, and what I think is, how is this food going to make me feel
mhm,
after? Right? That's the decision I'm making of my food, not what I'm craving necessarily, because there's salt and oil and all these things in our foods that are highly addictive, dairy especially, right? And so if I can make a choice on, now I know how foods make me feel, how much of a food I need to feel full, what combinations of food give me the most energy, how long they'll sustain me for, then
mhm.
food becomes really a non-issue. It becomes an issue of, it's not even an issue. It's this great addition to our lives that we get to fuel and nourish ourselves as an act of self-care. That's what
Mhm.
food is. That's what eating is. That's an act of self-care. We get to nourish ourselves. We get to say, oh, and here's my goals in the gym or with my body, and here's the foods that are going to help me get there, and here's the food that's going to make me feel good, and be in a good mood, and my stomach will feel right, and my digestion will work properly. And I mean, what can be better than that? Like,
Yeah,
we can't feel good. We cannot be putting our best foot forward if we're not feeling good. And food has that power.
yeah. I mean, a friend of mine told me long ago before I ever thought about going plant based. He was training. He was a triathlete, and we we were in Nashville, and our two oldest daughters grew up together. And when he was training, and I never will forget something he told me and my wife. He said, "You have to get to a point," and he wasn't plant based, but he ate a lean diet because he was running and biking and swimming. But he said, "You have to get to a point where you look at food like medicine. You wouldn't go just pop pills and eat them and gorge on them. You take what you need to heal and replenish, but you don't sit and gorge." And I never will forget, like, and I didn't do anything with that, but I remember that always stuck with me.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, you can you can let your you can let your hair down, and as I like what Dr. Barnard says and Dr. McDougall say, like, you know, uh, have a piece of birthday cake on your birthday, but you can't be making every day your birthday, you know?
Correct.
You can't,
Yes.
you know, and but that also requires discipline because there's a lot of people that can't give themselves permission. And so, you said something earlier. It's like I have the craving when I smell, or like the salt and the oils and the fats and things like that. And I tell people too, if I walk through I buy a restaurant and feel them or smell them smoking something, or, there is the craving, or it's instant. I'm like, I'm still human. I remember, what it was like, and I remember, but now that's where it stops for me because it's like you said, I know how I'm gonna feel. I know what it's gonna do to my body. I know that I'm gonna just feel terrible. I'm gonna feel sick. I'm not gonna feel good. And so, it's like, don't expect the cravings to go away. Don't expect sometimes when something triggers your memory, but I feel like we have to get in this place, like you said, of where everything has changed. We're aware of what's going into our bodies, so much so that we know how we feel with it and without it.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
that
Yeah.
takes time.
Yes, it does. And it takes what I call the power pause. And it's that
Mm.
opportunity you give yourself before you make a choice, before you go for a handful of whatever it is that's in front of your face, you take what I call the power pause. It's this step back. You approach yourself with curiosity and compassion, and you say, let me analyze this. Let me just take a minute here and say, first of all, why? What's my why? And if it's your birthday and you're about to eat a piece of cake and it's got vegan butter and all of these things, and you're saying, it's my birthday and I'm going to have a piece of freaking cake,
Yeah.
then, and how's that going to make me feel? I'm going to feel joy because it's my birthday and I'm celebrating. And this is the choice I'm making. Great. Go for that cake. Right. And maybe it's not your birthday and maybe there's a donut in front of you and you're saying, well, what's that 30 seconds that it's going to take me to eat that donut? That's going to be real nice. And then what's going to happen after I eat that donut?
The
I'm going to
next
feel
6
out of
hours
that,
are gonna, the
right?
next 6 hours are gonna suck.
Yes. Is it worth it? And is that, and if you are connected to the animals or the sustainability piece, like, is that aligned? Is that aligned with my values and how I want to move through the world? Is that aligned with my dollars supporting what that is, what that contains, right? So that power pause gives you that opportunity to explore all of the things about that choice you're about to make, because that's what it comes down to. It's about making a conscious choice. It's about being in control of your choices. So discipline, we can call it that. But I think what's more important is saying, is that aligned, right? And making that conscious choice.
I think it's yeah, I think it's intentionality. I feel
Yes.
like I feel like one of the things that misses from our culture is, I feel like especially in this day and age, it's definitely, if it feels good, do it, which that's always been a part of human nature, but I don't think I've ever seen a time since in my lifetime where people are less intentional with their lives right now. It's just approaching it and doing things without thinking about it. And and what is intentionality? It's what you're saying. It's like approaching it and looking at it and what is my intention? And people don't get that there's a lot that goes into intentionality. Being intentional with things, it's what drives us. It's what pushes us forward. And if we're not thinking intentionally, and people might say, "Oh, well, you're just kind of overblowing this. It's just a donut." And I'm like, "Yeah, but one donut becomes two donuts, and
Right.
then and it's like, but being intentional, going, wait, it is my birthday. I don't do this hardly ever. I'm gonna feel like crap a few hours later because there's so much salt and oil and vegan butter in this, but you know what? I'm gonna be careful, and so I don't feel like it. I mean, yes, we can split hairs with anything,
Right.
but I feel like that is not a problem in our culture right now. But doing things with intention is an issue right now.
Yes, and I will say too, and I want to make this sound, because it sounds like a lot of work. It sounds not fun when we're talking about it here just now, but it becomes really actually very fun after you practice
Sure.
this for a while, right? When you get to step into this role of the observer. And so here you are in this 3D reality, you're kind of this character, right? You're playing this game on Earth, and each decision is like a move on like a game board, right? And
Right.
when we like see it like that, be like, oh, what's my next move gonna be? Let me explore that. I gotta make that decision. It becomes this new way of moving through the world that's really quite fun. Even the unfun things are kind of fun because you get to explore them and you're not caught up as much in it. So that's kind of, we could call that a little bit of a spiritual angle, right? Like looking at our consciousness and seeing it from this kind of bigger picture and zooming out a little bit and seeing just how really small we are in the grand scheme of things, and
Yeah.
in playing it a little different, and adventurous, making it an adventure.
Yeah. And I think too, like when we first started, adhering to a plant-based lifestyle, it was work to go and read labels.
Yeah.
But after about a month or so, you just know what to eat and what not, and it's almost like second nature at that point.
Yes.
And we made it fun. Like when our kids were little, when we started this, we would go to the grocery store, give them $5 a piece and challenge them to go find a healthy snack or something they could take home, you know? So teaching them to read labels. So that kind of became fun, but it also gave them ownership, and looking
Mm,
for ways to involve them. And so I think about things like that. And you're right. People go, "Oh, reading a label is not fun. Y'all making," but I'm like, you really can't. You can you can do as much or as little with this as you want, and you can either make it miserable and make it like a job, or you can go, "Hey, getting healthy is actually really easy and really fun to do. It really is. It's fun to look in the mirror and think of what I used to look like." You know.
mhm.
So,
And thinking about the alternative. I mean, like,
yeah, that's
we
exactly
get to, yeah, this stuff, lasts into our older age. Like, the things that we enjoy now, if we're not thinking about these things, we're not going to have them. And it's hard. I mean, it's harder when we're younger, but yes, now I'm 43, and I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life at
right.
43 years old. I'm stronger than ever. These things, I'm sparring with kids in their 20s, and they're, yeah, I had one guy I was sparring with, one of my partners, Willie, who's I think 29 or 30, and I bring my little chihuahua, who's also plant-based, by the way. She's 17 years old. I bring her, she hangs out while I'm sparring and boxing, and he goes, she's like your little Pokemon. And I was like, I don't really know what Pokemon is. He's like, oh my God, you were a deprived child. How could you not know Pokemon? And I was like, child? I was like, dude, I'm 43 years old. We didn't have Pokemon when I was growing up. And
No.
he was like, oh my God, you're 43? Like, he couldn't believe it. And we've been sparring together a year. I'm not slowing down. So when you can connect with that vision of what you want when you're 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, who knows?
Oh, I feared turning 50. I turned 50 in February, and I see people around me here that are 50 and they look 70. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, I don't have the aches. I don't have the pains. And so yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I know one day it's going to slow down, but it's not today. And so
Of
Um,
course. Yeah.
so real quick, I want to get to,
Yes.
because I know we're going to run out of time, but I want you to spend a few minutes talking about what you're doing now, because you live in Miami, but you're
Yes.
on the farm right now, right?
I am. And guess what? I went to Chris Stapleton concert last night here in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Yes, you
It was
did.
fantastic. Oh my God, I love Chris Stapleton. I never thought I would. Yes, I love Chris Stapleton.
Hey,
Yeah,
good
he's
story. I
amazing.
used to go see him in Nashville when he played at the little station with the Steel Drivers.
Steel Drivers.
And I mean,
Oh.
you're like 20 feet away in a little
Oh.
dive that's probably as big as the office you're in. And,
Mm,
those were the
that's a
days.
beautiful thing. Yes.
But he's
Yes.
another one
His
that
voice.
we need to get Chris on a plant-based diet,
I
so
know. You have no idea. I'm at this concert, like, oh, if I could just get my hands on him. But
yes.
he's got some like, something about him says, you know what? I think with some guidance, I could see him. He's a very conscious,
Oh, he
really,
is.
beautiful human being. Like, just
Yes.
so humble and a beautiful human being.
Love
I could see him connecting to that. Anyway,
Anyway,
yes, I am in
where are
Virginia.
you right now? Because if this was gonna be an audio podcast for the most part, but if people could see that our video is going in and out, so we're very rural right now, right? You're in
Yeah, I don't know if you can.
Oh,
Yeah, out there. Yeah, you can
okay.
kind of see.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, so I'm in
making me
I'm
sad.
in North Garden, Virginia, and at Hogs and Kisses Farm Sanctuary. So my one of my besties used to live in Miami, and her husband decided it was time for them to move, to be closer to his son. And so she said, well, if we're moving, because I love Miami, I would like a sanctuary. And so, I'm the catalyst for her going vegan I think 13, going on 13 years ago now.
Wow.
And she came up here, and yeah, I helped her start Hogs and Kisses Farm Sanctuary. We are a micro sanctuary, meaning that we are very small compared to a lot of the larger, the original farm sanctuary or Woodstock Sanctuary in New York. So we're a very small sanctuary, but part of ours is providing forever homes for farmed animals who have been rescued, and part of it is education, and a lot of it is helping people, having these beautiful animals. And we've got 7 farm pigs that are many of whom are 700 pounds. They're just insanely
It's
awesome
are waiting for you to
beings.
finish this up so you can go feed
They
them.
are. They get fairly hangry. Um, and so yeah, I helped her bring them, and we started this from the scratch and built it up, rescued our animals, and now when she goes out of town, I come up and hold down the fort and get to spend. And it's just for me being up here and all the work that's involved, and it's a lot, and just being around to be able to connect so personally with these individual beings that were meant to end up on plates, to be able to hug on them and love on them and get to know them as these individuals and then share their stories, have them be ambassadors, is just extraordinary. It fills my cup, to say the very least.
I can
And
tell you're
it's
you're
just a
getting a
beautiful
little
space.
weepy as you talk right now.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's great though. I mean, and we're not telling people to run out and start sanctuaries, but
No,
but it's again, it's about finding out who you are and what you're passionate about, because then it's not about the money.
no.
It's I mean, and it's obvious that your heart is in this because I remember the night that we arrived in Omaha and we were going over to eat at Modern Love, and you were telling a story. Do you remember you were talking about I can't remember if it's the first animal that came or y'all had just gotten a new animal, but you were just I mean, I just remember thinking, wow, like she's not just this crazy activist. This girl is passionate.
Mm.
Like it just the way you talked, it's just I don't know. There was just like this you almost seem thankful you get to do this. That I guess that's the way to put it. It's just like
I am so thankful, and to be connected to a purpose, we all want to be happy, right? But what does that mean? And everyone's in a different place. But for me, that's very aligned with meaning and having not only a happy life, but a meaningful life, and
Mhm.
doing things that are aligned with love, really, and I think that's it kind of gets to that like a woo woo kind of place,
Yeah.
but ultimately we all want love, men, women, animals. We all want love, to be loved and to be able to share love. And so this gives me an opportunity to do that with beings that all too often are deprived of that love, to say the very least.
So how long are you there for like how much longer are you going to be there? Do you just
Yeah,
come
I'll
up
be
when
here.
they
So I'm
need
here a
you?
week.
Okay.
I'm here a week. And yeah, I come up usually sometimes like at least 4 times a year, come up for a week or two. And when we first started the sanctuary, I came up and stayed on we had rescued our three big sister pigs from
Mhm.
a farm in New York. Who It was a production farm, and the
This
wife
is
of
what
the
you were yes, this is what you were
yeah.
talking about. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the wife of the farmer fell in love with the pigs, and they had 11 pigs left, and they spared all of their lives. So Woodstock Farm Sanctuary is a very large sanctuary up there. Kind of reached out, and we said we can take three, and but at that point we didn't have a home here on the land yet, so I stayed in this trailer. It was like 100 degrees. We had no electricity, and I just like stayed on the land as we brought the girls with us who had never been off a farm, who were 700 pounds. We had no idea. We were, girls from Miami had no idea what we're doing. So
Mhm.
the learning curve was so big, but it was such an adventure. And when they got to, go from that situation to a place where we could say, you know what, you get to be here for the rest of your lives, and we're going to take care of you, and we're going to love on you, and to get to know each of them individual, and one that was kind of grumpy pig, and one that's queen pig who just, and then Dolly, sweet pig, and then they've all just evolved themselves, and they enhance all of our lives just like a dog does for every
Mhm.
family. Like if we can just extend that kind of love and compassion that we have for dogs to these beings that are equally as smart, because that's sometimes, people play that game of, well, if they're smart then they deserve love, right? Well, pigs are equally as smart as dogs. They have their own unique personalities,
Mhm.
And we also have a bed and breakfast, I will mention, here at
Yes,
Hogs and
please do.
Kisses Farm Sanctuary. Yeah, we have a bed and breakfast. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful kind of farmhouse with a beautiful bed and breakfast that overlooks the pasture, and we can introduce. We do intros with the animals here at Hogs and Kisses, and it's also wine country. So some people will come out here and go off to the wineries. There's other things to do here. So yeah, if
Is it
anybody is interested in a really unique getaway, definitely the bed and breakfast here is the one to check out.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. Is it kinda like City Slickers with Billy Crystal where the city folk can get away and come slop the
Sure,
hogs
yes,
and wander around and on the
absolutely,
farm?
absolutely.
Man, that is awesome. So what's the name of the so go ahead again and mention the name of the sanctuary and the be in the air and the, bed and breakfast.
Yes, Hogs and Kisses Farm Sanctuary. And if you go to Hogs and Kisses, A-N-D, kisses.org is the website, and you can get all the links from there.
Yes, and I can tell you this is an incredibly beautiful area. I miss the Blue Ridge, I miss the Apple. I mean, I miss it, miss it, miss it. I loved going up into Virginia. So I just yeah, so the wife and I may have to make a trip soon.
Yes,
That would be great.
yes,
So, and
yes.
you're it's about time for the foliage to turn up
It's
there.
just starting, just
Oh,
starting. Fall is so gorgeous.
there
Yeah.
I people do not realize if you have never seen the foliage turn in Virginia around Boone and up in the Blue Ridge Mountains when the foliage turns every year, Grandfather Mountain, there is
Mhm.
absolutely nothing like it. Like, and it's different each week until it all turns. I mean, it's literally breathtaking. It is.
Yes.
So get to the Hogs and Kisses farm in the fall now.
Yes.
Start making
Yes.
plans
Yes.
now. Just do it. Okay, so before we
Yes.
go, because you got to slop some big hogs, you got to go feed them.
Mhm.
Real quick, tell everybody what's on your plate in the morning and lunchtime. You say you're simple. I mean, I like to think that I am, but I do definitely spend more time reading cookbooks and recipes and thinking through it. But what's on Ella's plate when she wakes up? Just a normal day, and then what's for lunch, and how's she closing out the day?
Yeah. So do you mention the intermittent fasting? I'm not a big on huge intermittent fasting, but I do the 12 hours between
Hmm.
dinner and breakfast. That's kind of the minimum of what our bodies really need to fully digest and kind of start with a clean plate in the
Yep.
morning. I hashtag salad for breakfast. So I'm a weirdo. But this is part of this experimenting over the years of figuring out what really works for me and my body and fueling
Mhm.
myself. And I have come up with this salad that I call my Nutrilicious kale and white bean salad that is freaking phenomenal. And I look forward to it every day. So I do start with a mushroom. I like mushroom coffee with soy milk, organic soy milk. So I'll sip on that for a little while. And then when my body tells me that it's ready for food, first a huge glass of water, about 23 ounces of water with
Mhm.
lemon. Then I have some mushroom coffee. I'm doing my meditation and all that in the morning as well. And then I'm having a big salad, huge salad. It is kale. I massage it with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, lemon juice. And then I put in there white beans and my favorite brand. And I will give you this link, Shane, because I am telling you, I felt like a bad vegan for a long time because I didn't get it. I didn't get the nutritional yeast thing. I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. And I would kind of be like, I felt a little ashamed because everyone would rave about until I found Nutrilicious, and I love Nutrilicious. So I put a good quarter cup of this nutritional yeast that has almost 4.5 grams of protein per serving. So it's just the nutritional yeast in this salad is 16 grams of protein.
There
And I
you
don't
go.
count calories, I don't count macros, but just so you guys out there know that
Yes.
without even the beans in that salad, just with the greens and the nutritional yeast, we're about 20 grams of protein. Then I add in the beans and some pumpkin seeds, and you're at like a 30-gram of protein in a salad that is so delicious and so it's kind of creamy and it fills me
Mhm.
up, but not to the point. And I eat very mindfully. That's the other takeaway here. I know so many men, and I've had many boyfriends in my past. I've never been married yet, but many boyfriends who will just shovel food. That seems to be a very guy thing to do.
Yeah.
And when we can, yes, but I'm telling you, if you could slow it down a little bit, if you could chew your food to a pace before you swallow, I am telling you, it will make a huge difference in how you
It
feel.
makes a difference. Yes.
It makes a huge difference. So anyway, eat my kale mindfully. Sometimes I'll make a huge batch and or do one with arugula. So I'll switch out the greens, switch out the kinds of beans. I use Slap Your Mama seasoning. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is on that salad. And I will switch up the seasonings too. But right now I'm on a Slap Your Mama kick.
Okay.
My friend from New Orleans turned me onto that seasoning, which no MSG and none of that stuff. So anyway, salad's a huge thing for me. I'll do things quick. I'll do really easy things like a huge batch of green peas with walnuts on top, with lots of great seasoning. I'll eat that as a meal, like a huge thing. And again, the protein in it is so much protein. I will do occasionally some things like mindful chicken from Sweet Earth, like make maybe a chicken salad or things like that. I do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of legume pasta, so maybe a bonza pasta, and I'll make a Alfredo with some silken tofu or cauliflower. But mostly just really simple things. Air fryer broccoli. Again, I'll
Mm-hmm.
put some nutritional yeast on it, stick it in the air fryer. Really simple stuff. Buddha bowls, throwing in there sweet potatoes, black beans, salsa. So tons of beans. I'm a bean fanatic. I eat a
Yeah,
ton of
we are
beans.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're filling, they're packed with protein, they're packed with fiber, packed with all the nutrients, all this good stuff. And then there's a few little supplements that I do. Occasionally, I'll do a nutritional shake if I'm in a hurry, blended with bananas. I like this brand called Kachava that's got probiotics in it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's got different greens and all that, and it tastes phenomenal. Very whole foods based, basically whole foods in a powder form. So yeah, there's a few supplements I'll take, but mostly whole foods. Lots of beans, lots of greens, some quinoa thrown in there. Keep it simple, and it's all about the sauce. It's really about the flavor profile. So taking kind
Yes.
of
Yeah.
these whole foods, packing them together, and then having your go-to sauces and seasonings that you put on that can make it have a whole different flavor, with basically the same staples.
Okay. So so you kind of do that 3 meals a day. Sounds like whatever you see, whatever you like, keeping it simple. Okay.
Yeah.
So hey, we're going out. There's a great vegan restaurant, or it's that one day a week you're gonna blow it out.
Yeah.
What do you just crave if you're gonna go? I'm gonna be a little naughty. What is gonna
Yes.
be the one thing that you just crave? Like that special occasion. Are you a sweet person? Are you a savory and crunchy person? Or
Yeah. I'm a savory person. I used to have to always have the sweet after. I did kind of cut out sugar completely, refined sugar. Not that I don't have it every once in a while now, but after I cut it out, it was great because I didn't crave it anymore. And
Mhm.
that's the hard part, is when you're craving it. So how wonderful it is to not even crave something that's not good for you. So I basically stay away from refined sugars for the most part, and I don't crave them. So that's not a thing. But I do love like pasta with Alfredo sauce, like an
Mhm.
Alfredo pasta. There's this Planta restaurant in South Beach. If you ever come to South Beach in Miami, and they've got these udon noodles with this creamy
Oh,
truffle. It's a creamy truffle with other mushrooms, and just so creamy and delicious. Lots of probably coconut milk, very rich. I'm a Southern, like, at heart. Grits, I
yes,
love me some grits,
yes,
with cheese, like vegan cheese. That would be my soft spot. Mac and cheese, that
yes.
creamy stuff. That's what I like. I like the creamy.
I'm with you. Like I could carb comas, give it to me every day. So,
Yes,
uh,
1000%. Some good sourdough bread with some
oh,
olive oil and some herbs.
oh,
Whew,
yeah. Okay, we got to
best place.
stop 'cause I'm
I know I'm hungry now, and I'm
I'm
hungry
getting
like a
flush
bitch.
and I'm turning red. Hey, Ella, I know you have to go, but I want to thank you so much for jumping on here and I just tell you, I realize we just met a few weeks ago and we didn't get to spend a ton of time together, but I feel like, it's like with Gigi Carter. I always say you always have these run-ins, these divine appointments, I call them. And I felt like that with Milton Mills, just getting to sit down. And it's like when you do connect, it's deep and it's instantaneous, and it's like the connection. So it's meant so much just being able to text back and forth and to email and just to see what you're doing and to hear about it here. I'm just really honored that you would come on here and just share your heart and your passion and just what you're doing. And I feel like it'd be great if we could maybe circle back around down the road and do it and just, I mean, I would love to do something like for a community or something online or something. But anyway, thank you so much for just opening your heart and your time and just why you're there and coming on, because I feel like this is just going to be so beneficial for people, especially men. So thank you so much.
Yes. Oh, it is truly my pleasure. You are a joy. I feel, like you said, just a connection immediately. I can't wait to have you on my podcast, Rise and Thrive, so we can dive into your story as well. I love to dig deep there. So yeah, I think this is just the beginning, Shane.
Yeah, same here, Ella. Well, hey, go feed the hogs. Tell them I said hey, and look forward to connecting again. And we'll be talking soon, Ella.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thanks for everyone for listening. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
All right, you've reached the end of another enlightening episode of Real Men Eat Plants. We've revved up the man machine and explored the thrilling world of veggies. Remember, guys, flexing your manhood isn't about the size of the steak on your plate, but the strength of sprouts in your salad bowl. For those eager to continue their journey towards plant-powered masculinity, buckle up and head over to our website at realmeneatplants.com. There, you'll unlock access to exclusive content, mouth-watering recipes, and advice from the plant-based powerhouses themselves. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on social media for your daily dose of inspiration and connect with a community of men just like you who have joined the Plant Parade. Remember, it's not just about becoming stronger, healthier, and more vibrant. You're also becoming an eco-warrior, playing a vital role in the wellness of our planet. We appreciate your support and can't wait to catch up with you in the next episode. Until then, keep fueling your manhood with Mother Nature's pantry. And remember, with a sprig of humor, Real Men Eat Plants will be rooting for you until we meet again.